industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no-obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Okay. I already hit the buttons. What is it? Nothing, right? Start talking.
Hi, welcome to A Common Thread. I'm Sonia V.
I'm Eva Iguaran.
I love the way you say your last name.
Thank you. The wins, the losses, and the curveballs in life.
Yes, ma'am. We're back again. We survived one. We're back for a second. Yay, us. Oh, gosh. Well, how's your week been?
It's been pretty good, actually.
Good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, today's topic is, well, our podcast is called The Common Thread. We kind of defined that last week, and I think that's a common theme or common saying that people say. And so a common thread is something that brings us together. So I have some notes because we're going to have a conversation today. And so today's podcast is about embracing the likes, the, the, the similarities, the differences, and still be able to like each other and get along. Isn't that a concept? Like each other, even if we don't agree with each other.
Yeah. I mean, we're in this world together, and so there's always going to be naysayers, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, we know that not everyone watching this is going to love us. We understand that, and that's okay. You know, we love you. We love you.
Regardless.
We love you regardless. But we know that we're not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. Right. But we can still be kind and compassionate towards one another. And we want to give a little biblical twist on it because, you know, it's a Christian podcast. So we want to kind of bring that into it as well. So I feel like we live in a culture that, like, lately, or for a long, actually not lately, for a long time now, that we like to argue, especially on social media.
So as long as Facebook and the social media platforms have been around, we've been experiencing
Yeah, and that's
this
been
phenomenon.
quite a while, right? But I think it's happening more exponentially now than it used to happen. And the thing is, like, years ago, like, we were talking about this before we started. Like, I remember being in high school, and you would be walking down the hall switching classes. You had like 4 or 5 minutes to switch classes, and a fist fight would break out in the middle of the hallway. You know, whatever the fight was, you know, how teenagers fight over you stole my girl, whatever. And but you had to do it in person, and you had to be tough enough to do it in person. Now people seem to like to hide behind the screen and do this stuff. And I wanted to dig a little deeper because, you know, although we're having a conversation, we're not experts, so we have to look up the stuff. Some of this stuff is personal experience, some of it is statistics. So I was curious. So I did some research, and it says 3/4 of people believe incivility has risen to crisis levels at 93%. They say it's a problem. 68% call it a major problem. Stress, technology, and division are turning up the volume on rudeness and making it harder to connect. And these numbers come from Pew Research and Civility in America. Those are pretty high numbers.
Well, and I don't know if it's part of this, but trolling, people are, and I feel like that all the time. In fact, there's a few people that I may, after the show, go and delete because I believe they're trolling my page. And they only say stuff, I guess, when the subject matter interests them or they want to correct or they feel a certain way. And so our pages are our pages, right? And that's what I tell people. Our pages are our pages. Like, how are you feeling today? And you type out how you're feeling. But when your page is public, it's a free for all. So it's really not your page. I mean, it is, but we can expect that people are going to have opinions and say stuff about what we post. I mean, for me, Facebook and these social media platforms are more like a journal of my life and for my family.
Right.
But friends, of course, are invited to come see and to come look and to enjoy. But for some reason, we have some friends that aren't so friendly, or maybe they're just more like acquaintances and they feel like they um, should share or post on your page. So it really is like, if it is public, we have to know that there's going to be some Karens, some
Well,
some people trolling.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an expectation. obviously. I think the issue is like I know like there were times I was on Instagram. This was probably a couple of years ago, and there was this guy on there, and I didn't, I had an opinion about something, and I just shared my opinion. Well, some of the people got really ugly on there. Like, well, I mean, obviously, I don't know who they really are, but the picture sounded, they looked like somebody really young, like a guy, like a really young guy. And I'm thinking, like cursing me out for an opinion. And I thought, I can be your mom.
No, this has happened to me,
Yeah.
and I felt like had we all been in the same room, they probably would have stabbed me in the heart. Like
Mm,
it got that heated and that intense. And I
wow.
was like, "Oh, whoa." It's kind of it can be kind of scary. So I for the
Yeah.
most part, I try to stay out of conversations that I feel like passionate about because I'm like they may not see my side of the story. They definitely don't hear your voice. They don't hear the tone of your voice. And so these fragmented sentences that I do personally, I'm not really good at um I guess at punctuation
Mm,
or sometimes, it can throw people off because, an emoji face just isn't always gonna do it, you know what I
capture.
mean?
Yeah.
So, when you're not in person with somebody for them to feel your heart or to see your tears or to whatever that normally in a face-to-face conversation would provoke or at least help, sometimes, yeah, it can be really crazy. So I've tried to step back on a lot of my social media conversations.
Yeah, I've been using it a lot more lately just to kind of share. I don't really scroll like I used to because I realized that it was just, well, agitating me a lot, like some of the things I was reading. And so I just decided that it's not worth my mental health to go through that.
So Sonia,
Yeah.
there's a term for this, and it was coined by John Solner,
Mm,
Suler. Sorry, I probably mispronounced that. He's a doctor, and it's online disinhibition effect.
mm,
And it means that people express themselves more freely online than they do in person. So just that wall of we're on social media and people aren't face to face makes people feel very free at expressing themselves in always not a kind manner.
right. Well, I mean, it's a safe space for them to do it. And, people do it for multiple reasons. Some people just do it for fun. Some people maybe, who knows, maybe at home in their home life, they're not heard. And that's the only place that they can be heard. So they feel like, well, I can just start scrolling on people's pages and I'm going to start voicing my opinion on there because that's the only place people listen to me. Um, so I also did a little research and it says a couple of things. I'm not going to read more statistics, but it says why it happens. Social media amplifies echo chambers and exposes people to more extreme views, making disagreement feel threatening. Algorithms and anonymity and the sense of blocking, unfriending make hostile interactions more common. This is from Taylor and Francis, Science 2.0. And then it says, another one says, people who strongly identify with their groups are more likely to reject or censor opposing groups, especially when emotions run high. So I thought, why do we do that? I mean, look, years ago, remember like they had like these debates, like you were on the debate team? Like you can be on a debate team and disagree. And it was a good skill to have. I mean, you have to learn how to defend yourself or defend your views, right? But you could do it respectively, right? You could like leave that interaction with just like, hey, I don't agree, but hey, we could still be cool, right? Um,
And the thing is to have genuine curiosity. So I think that's helpful when you have genuine curiosity
yeah,
or you're wanting to learn something, that's going to make the outcome more positive.
right,
So
right,
so, like, I'm curious about you and your side of the story. I may
exactly,
not agree, but I'm curious to hear your story. I'm curious to
right,
see what brought you to that place where you believe that to be true.
right.
And I also wanna learn. It's never too late to learn. I learn something every single day.
Exactly, exactly. Well, you said that, and we yeah, I mean, we're not going to always agree on everything, but I think if you come from a place of curiosity instead of being like, wow, instead of doing this, coming to someone like this, you can come, you know, I'm curious. Why do you believe about XYZ? See how different that comes across, right? Now, at the end of that, it doesn't mean your opinion, because the thing is, there's a saying that says, we don't listen to understand, we listen to respond. So that's the issue. A lot of the times when someone's speaking, we're already thinking about what we're going to say to them before. So we're not really thinking and we're not really present. And so someone at the end of it is not going to feel like you're safe if you're going to be doing that with them, right? So I think even on social media, that's a skill. And actually, even more so because it's written. So so when we're writing, we have time to think about our thoughts opposed to when we're just talking. Because once we get it out there with our mouth, it's kind of hard because we that from here to here is not that long, right? We do think about it, but not too long. Post to social media or texting when you have time to text and think about what you're going to say. Now, that being said, you can think about it for the longest time and someone can still get upset over it, but at least I know that I took the time to word something correctly as much as possible, and if they receive it in a way that is undesirable to them, I can't control that part of it, obviously, but at least I did my part. So,
Do you have any stories to tell? Because I have one, but I am contemplating whether I should tell it or not.
well, I don't have a story, but you go first, and then I'll share this part.
Okay, and you can analyze it, and I don't know, this may cause people to think a certain way about me, but that's okay. I'm gonna be vulnerable. So, our family really doesn't watch much of the Super Bowl games, but I always go back and hear about them after, and I'm just like usually I'm like, "Whew, I'm glad we missed that one." Um, so I don't know if it was a few years ago. I believe it was Shakira and Beyonce performing.
Okay.
So,
I think it
I'll
was Jennifer
or
Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember. Anyway, they were, I guess, apparently killing it, and they were, people were commenting about what great shape they were in. Um, and a lot of Christian Hispanic women's were rallying around them and saying how amazing, their abilities and the dance and all this. And all I could think was, from what I went back and watched, was it just looked, first of all, to me, I was like, okay, I had some strong opinions about it. Cause for one, to me, it's just like a pole dance. Now, I think, in my small opinion of dance, I'm thinking this is just something that you would do in a bar, this type of dance. Now, I'm not saying there's not athleticism to it and that these women didn't have an insanely strong core. And I think it would be awesome if you had a pole in your garage and you could get strong abs doing that.
Mhm.
But I must have said something to the effect that I don't think it was very wholesome to watch, and I wouldn't put it on for my kids to watch basically a stripper or somebody on a pole dancing. And definitely, I wouldn't be like, "Hey, Enrique, come on in here and watch this with me." Anyway, there was some online fighting about that.
Mm.
And I said something that I shouldn't have to one of my friends, like basically, "Well, you don't oppose them coming into your living room to do that little dance for your whole family. I'll come over and do a pole dance for your husband. How about that?" So, yeah, we still
Yeah.
talk.
Oh, that's good. Because I'm like,
We
okay,
still
how
talk.
did that turn out?
I'm just saying, like, you're inviting somebody into your living room to do this pole dance, so I guess you're okay with just anybody coming on over? Anyway,
Well, you're still friends. So I guess the moral of the story is they're still
we're
friends.
still friends.
Yeah. So that's good.
And I think she must be bigger than I am, because I don't know if I was her, I would still be talking to her. But that was just heated emotion, like a lot of stuff going on in our heads. So
Yeah. Well, I feel like if you're like it's okay to have a strong opinion about something. I think that just trying to understand the other person, I think is just the most important thing. as a chaplain, uh, I work and deal with lots of people from different walks of life different religious beliefs, political beliefs, and actually that's yeah,
Hey.
I didn't even memorize it. See, look, I went right into it. And so I've been doing chaplaincy for about 4 years now, and in the beginning, the one thing in chaplaincy they always tell you to do is you bring your whole self into the room. So you bring your Aunt Jane, your Uncle Ronnie, or whoever it is, right? I'm just making up names. Um, because you are everybody that you've known since you were little. You bring that all with you, all your experiences, right? So there's so I walk into a room and there's someone in there that reminds me of someone I know. Well, I may avoid certain questions, or I actually may ask certain questions because of it. And so they're always, they're saying it's okay to do that, but just be aware that you're doing it, right? And so
So what you're saying is you don't just go into a room as Sonia. You go into a room as all the collective of your experiences, of the people who you're surrounded by,
mhm,
of your relatives.
family, relatives, experiences from
You're
the
not just
past,
Sonia.
regrets, positive things in life.
I mean, you're Sonia, but you're coming in with all of this that you
Right.
have to just check.
Right. And there's a thing that we do in chaplaincy that's called action, reflection, action. So you act on something, you reflect on it, and now the next time you come into the same situation or a similar one, how are you going to do that different now? Because maybe you screwed it up the first time. Now, how are you going to do it now? And so, my role as a chaplain, and I think as a human, really, it should not to be pushing my beliefs, even if I don't agree with them, or change anybody or fix them. I've discovered that the most important thing that I can do with people is just be present and listen to them. And when I think about fixing or conviction, I think about the Holy Spirit. And that is really not my role as a Christian. My role is to be the hands and feet of Jesus and to be in the crucible with those people, whatever that is, and feel uncomfortable in it sometimes. And so going back to this, because it's relates to that, right? So when I'm on social media or I'm even having a conversation with someone outside of my job, um, they may not agree on everything that I agree on, but it's okay. We're two humans walking alongside each other, and we've had two completely different lives, but we can still be friends, or at least acquaintances, and or neighbors. I mean,
And
not
there's something that we can find that at least one thing.
oh, there's always one thing. I mean, we all bleed, right?
Mhm.
If we have children, some people, your neighbors, some of your neighbors have children, or your friends have children. Well, that's another thing you have in common. If you're a woman, we have that in common. There's always one thing you're going to find in common.
So find the common ground.
Find the common ground. Yeah. And so speaking of the Holy Spirit, um, well, I already mentioned this, Barbara, planting a seed. So I'm there to be with people, and I can plant a seed in their heart, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be with them the whole time, right? Like I see different patients all the time, and I know that I'm not going to be in their life forever, right? But I know that God is going to send people along to walk alongside them at some point. But I'm there to plant a seed, and if the seed is I was present with you, and maybe that was the only opportunity they saw God, even if I didn't even mention God's name, right? Um,
I have a Bible verse for that.
you do. Okay.
Well,
We didn't even plan this. See?
warn those who are unruly, comfort those who are faint hearted,
Mm,
and uphold the weak,
mm,
and be patient with all. And that's found in 1 Thessalonians 5:14. So that verse I would just pull out, like, to add on to what you're saying, being a
mm,
chaplain and sitting with those who are grieving or going through something really hard, to uphold the weak
mm,
or comfort the faint-hearted.
Mm. I like that verse. Which one is that again?
1 Thessalonians 5:14.
How did Jesus model this? I think that is the most important thing when we look at I was trying to see if I can find some Bible stories, and the one of the Bible stories that I found was I found a couple. One being um the Samaritan woman. You know, for those who are not familiar with the story, this woman, they went there was this well, right, that they had to draw water from. And most people, because it was so hot, they would not draw water in the middle of the day. They would do it like early in the morning, get all the water they needed for the day, and then left. Well, this woman went at like noon, which is like the hottest part of the day. And guess who was there to greet her? Jesus. And Jesus was curious about her, and he started talking with her. And she says, I know this man is a Jew. Why is he talking to me? So she said, I'm a Samaritan. You're a Jew. Why are you talking to me? And it's not so many words. I'm paraphrasing. And then, she's surprised that he's talking to her. Then he goes, she starts saying other things. And then he actually points out that she was married not once, twice, 3, 4, 5. Well, it said that she's been married 4 times, and the man that she was currently with, she wasn't married to. And she was like surprised, right? But the fact that he took the time, because she was very aware of the cultural, looking at someone from a different culture, and that they weren't supposed to be talking to each other. Because Samaritans were half Jews, half Gentiles.
And much less that he's a man and she's a woman.
Exactly, right? And the fact that he knew her history, that she was with not 1 man, not 2, 3 or 4, but 5. And the current one she was not married to. But he still took the time to talk to her. The fact that he did that says a lot about him, and says that he didn't judge her. And the fact that she even took the time, then started, they started talking about religion at that point, about, how they worship and all that. And so she went back and said, I met a man who knew everything about me. But he didn't make her feel like she wanted to hide.
He didn't make her feel like he was judging her. He made her feel loved, welcomed, seen. Yes, that's the word.
Because she was hiding.
Mm-hmm.
She was going at the well at 12. She didn't want any, because everybody knew about her life.
Yeah.
She didn't want to, because people
She didn't want to interact.
She didn't want people snarling at her and judging her and spitting at her. And who knows what they were doing to her at that time. I always say that times have changed, people haven't.
Mm-hmm.
So it would just look different now if that happened now. The circumstances wouldn't be me going to a well to get water, but it would be something else, right? So, but
he respected her too.
He did.
Don't you think that, men at that time would have been like yanking her, maybe even like, the slap on the booty? I'm just saying. Yeah. You already know she's a liberal girl. Like, I already know this type. Like, you know somebody before you even talk to them. Like, you think you know somebody.
You make a judgment call before you even know them, not even knowing their heart.
Oh, I bet she's free. I bet I can smack her on a booty.
Yeah. And
so Jesus had respect for her, even knowing her past.
Exactly. Wow. That's amazing. Knowing somebody's past and even still being able to respect them. That's a concept. That's a concept that we need to kind of learn more about, because neither of us, we don't do it perfectly either. Just because I do this work doesn't mean that I do it perfectly.
No, and I wear this shirt quite often.
More empathy, less judgment. Oh, that's a perfect for the subject. Look at you. You're all dressed up for it. I love it.
No, I don't do this perfectly though, but I am trying for this to become who I am.
Well, I always say that I don't live my life with an ED, like that I've learned something, but I'm always learning something, right? So everything in my life ends with an ing, because I am not there yet. And none of us are there yet. We're going to get there at some point, but just enjoy the journey while we're doing it.
progress over perfection.
Progress is, practice makes better, not perfect. So that's the way I see it. So I like to practice. There's nothing wrong with practicing something or making effort in something, but I know that I'm never going to be perfect at it, but I'm going to do the best I can to ensure that I've given my all for that. So, well, it is. There's our music.
We have a few seconds left, so we just want to invite you to come back in the second half. Make sure you share this with your friends, and we're going to have another 30 minutes conversation about this. So make sure you join us.
Yes. We'll see you when we come back.
Attention all business owners and creative minds. Do you need a unique and personalized touch for your products? Look no further than Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs. We offer custom laser engraving services for a variety of products, including promotional items and corporate or personal gifts. With state-of-the-art equipment and a team of skilled designers, we can engrave intricate designs on virtually any material. Whether it's a special message, a company logo, or a custom design, Romika Laser Engraving will help you make your mark. And the best part, our prices are affordable and our turnaround time is quick.
I couldn't be happier with the work Romika Laser Engraving did for me. The engraving on my product was precise and exactly what I wanted.
So don't wait any longer to add a personal touch to your products. Call Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs today at 817-400-4040 or visit our website at romikadesigns.com. We look forward to helping you make your mark.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Hi, welcome back to our second half of A Common Thread. I'm Sonia V.
And I'm Iguaran.
I just love when she says her name. And then, welcome back.
Okay, so we have a commercial. The North Texas Radio proudly serves all of North Texas and can be heard all over the world on the radio network and on the North Texas Radio app, available on Android, Apple CarPlay, and just ask Alexa to play North Texas Radio. Check out our lineup and more, North Texas Radio. We thank our valued sponsors in helping us amplify the voices of North Texas communities and businesses. So protect your family with a will or trust. Connect with Todd Hurd and Associates, attorney at law, for all your civil law needs. TexasAttorneyLaw.com. Processing credit cards. Join the Swipe Nation today and save on processing fees. SwipeNationUSA.com. Locally owned and operated and will beat any rates. Got sleeves? Dress your arms and more. The Tiffy.com for women's accessories and more, made in the USA. So remember, the Tiffy.com. And it's time to take your business to the next level. Hosting a radio show, a podcast, is a powerful way to connect with a wider audience, build brand awareness, and drive sales. Let's discuss your business goals and how a custom show can help you achieve them. Email Tiffany at t.hurd@northtexasradio.com to get amplified.
To get amplified. I love that part. Well, for those joining us on the second half, we've been talking about a common thread as far as like, you know, with social media and all these platforms, there's a lot of bickering and fighting on these platforms, and it just seems that people have less tolerance for each other than they used to.
Hmm.
Even years ago, you could, like I said, we were talking about a debate. You can, or even just a casual conversation with someone. You may not have agreed, and maybe you even walked out of the room, but then later you can still talk to them, right? Afterwards, there was some, civility to it. Um, and so we were talking about the Samaritan woman before we went on break, and another example of someone in the Bible who people hated was Zacchaeus or Zacchaeus. People say it differently. He was a tax collector and he was a Jew. Now, the reason why people hated him, for those that don't know the story, is because he was a Jew, but he worked for the Romans, and he collected taxes for the Romans. Not only that, but he collected extra money and he pocketed that money. So talk about a cheat.
Hmm.
So people really did have a reason not to like him.
Low down cheat. He was taking money for himself.
Yes, he was. They were paying him, I'm assuming, but he was like, "Oh, a little extra for me,"
Uh-huh.
you know. And so but it says here, Jesus saw Zacchaeus, a tax collector who was hated by almost everyone. Instead of ignoring Zacchaeus, so he was in a tree to watch Jesus as Jesus walked by. He called him down from a tree and invited himself to dinner at his house. The simple act of friendship and acceptance led Zacchaeus to turn his life around. Again, Jesus noticed someone. I don't know if other people noticed that he was in the tree. He was not, well, he wasn't a tall man. I mean, the Bible says he was short in stature. But
So he couldn't see over the crowds to see Jesus.
Right. So he climbed up in the tree.
So he climbed up in the tree.
But Jesus noticed him.
And Jesus wanted to eat at his house, which was very interesting because he invited himself over.
Many of us
right?
would do that nowadays.
Didn't he? I mean, he invited himself over.
He
I'm going to your house.
Yeah, I'm coming to your house for dinner.
And we're going to break bread together.
We're going to break bread together.
Which is awesome because, we seem to always want to have our life all together, or our house super clean, or the perfect meal made before we want to engage in that way. But definitely we probably wouldn't be answering the door if you came just like that. Like, I'm inviting myself over to your house to eat today. I don't know how happy most of us would be if somebody just showed up at the door.
I've had a couple of people do that to me, and I didn't know what to say. And I'm like, and actually one of them, I'm good friends with her. And I said to her later, like they were already at the house, and I'm like, "Oh, I love the way you invited yourself over today." And she was like, she started laughing, and I started laughing. And I was like, I mean, I had stuff ready, thankfully, but we were going to eat anyway. But
I would be like, we're having a saying.
Just saying, or sandwiches. Oh, no.
But come on in. So Jesus invited himself to Zacchaeus' house. And
yes, he did.
And Zacchaeus was a changed man.
He was. Just one act of kindness.
And that acceptance and the no judgment. I think that act alone is what caused him to want to give back to the people. And the Bible says that he gave back, I don't know if it was double.
He gave more back than he took.
But he gave way more back than he took.
Yeah.
And I think it was just being in the presence of God, and just the fact that Jesus came over to his house when everybody hated him or disliked him. So it made him do a complete U-turn in his life.
And best believe that Jesus got a lot of ridicule about the Samaritan woman from his very own disciples, by the way. He said, "Master, why are you talking to her? You know what kind of woman that is?" "Yes, I do." "Now do the same," he said. And he got a lot of ridicule for talking to Zacchaeus too. Why do you talk? Even the Pharisees and Sadducees were like, he eats with sinners and tax collectors. They even used the word tax collector, because being a tax collector back then, especially if you were a Jew, was like one of the worst things you can be. And
so this just means I may not have anything in common, or I may not think that I have anything in common with a prostitute.
Mm.
I may think I'm better than a
Mhm.
prostitute.
Mhm.
Or I may think I am better than a tax collector.
Mm.
I'm not going to have lunch with them.
Mm.
But no, the Bible's basically telling us those very people who you think are completely different than you, or you think you're better than, are the people that actually we should have conversations with,
Mm.
that we should have a love for
Mm.
and a curiosity to maybe put ourselves in their shoes.
Isn't that empathy? Yeah, putting ourselves in someone's shoes. That's a concept. And I think we have lost that way of being, is the lack of empathy. Um, what's the opposite of empathy? What would be the opposite of empathy for you?
I don't know. Is it narcissism?
I don't know if it's narcissism. We're going to look it up though, because again, we're not experts. And I'm going to look up the opposite.
Not having sympathy, not having empathy, not being
Opposite of empathy. Well, it says here apathetic or callous.
cold-hearted.
Cold-hearted. Not being able to understand someone else's circumstances. I think we confuse, like, I think the issue is, I'm a Christian, right? So I'm going to speak from a Christian perspective. I think sometimes as Christians, or for myself, I feel like if I talk to that person, whatever their opinion is, and I start listening to them, then now my opinions are going to be changed. And so I'm going to put up this big wall so those things don't come into my mind, because they're going to like contaminate my thinking, my thoughts, my character. That's living, first of all, living in an anxiety. We're being anxious when we do that. And if I feel like that's the case, then I need to heart search. If I'm that afraid of that person influencing me in that way, then I got to look at my walk with God. Is my walk with God strong enough? Because if it's not, then that's on me, because they're not responsible for that. That's on me. The Bible says, choose this day who you will serve, and salvation is ours. So it's a personal relationship with God. So if I'm that afraid to interact with someone because of that, then the issue is not them, it's me. Mic drop. I can't touch these mics, so I'm just gonna do that. So, but I just feel like, yeah, I know that we can't change the world, Eva. I understand that. But if we can touch somebody's heart out there that can just like say, if I can just talk to somebody today that maybe I've never talked to before. Maybe it's that neighbor that moved in 6 months ago that I've never talked to because they look like X, Y, and Z. Take the risk. Or that coworker that started at work a year ago that I just don't like the way they look. Maybe I can go over and talk to them. Not me, I'm just saying you. I talk to too many people. That's the issue. I talk to everybody. I never meet a stranger. I'm too curious about people. But
and I think also knowing when to have difficult conversations. So having these difficult conversations online is not smart, first of all. Having big debates, like if we were going to talk about any topic, pull one out, just say a topic.
I mean, religion,
or anything political or religion.
Right.
This is, to me, it's not a place to have these hard conversations. Because like we said earlier, it's too big, and people can't see or feel you or understand you or see even where you're coming from.
Right.
And so I have learned to not engage online.
Right.
As tempting as it may be.
Right.
First of all, half of the people don't know you.
Right.
Most of them are going to be acquaintances And then other people are just piping in who maybe a friend of a friend. You know how everybody just comes on. So it's really not a safe, smart place to have these big debates. So I've had to purposely choose when I see something that I will, if I have to say something to somebody, I will message them.
Directly?
Yes,
Okay.
but I don't need to make a comment there.
Mm.
I don't need my opinion or my comment to be seen by all
Okay.
these people.
Got it.
And if there's somebody there that I need to speak directly to, or I feel like I might be able to touch them, I can say, "Hey," I can go back in the back and say, "That's not what I meant," or "I'm sorry," or whatever. But right there on that thread, I don't need to be a part of that. I
Mm.
can go and message them in another place on Messenger. If I have their phone number, text them directly and say, "Hey, you wanna meet up and talk about this in person?" But to do it there, and there's so many factors. So many factors. You don't know what other people are going through when they're making all these comments. It could it could be that they're hungry. They're hangry.
They're hangry. Yeah, I get that way a
That
lot.
wouldn't be a good time to enter into a political or religious
No.
conversation if you're hangry.
No, it's not.
What about if it's your time of month?
That or really late at night when you're really tired.
There's just times when you're having difficult conversations. There's some times that are better than other times to have these conversations. But in all, I just don't feel that it's appropriate to have these big conversations on social media.
I agree. I agree. I think we should do it face to face. I think it should be face to face for sure. There's just something about sitting with someone and being able to like see their eyes tear up or even get angry about something, you know. I walked into a room once and the guy there was a patient, and then there was a brother of the patient. This was a few years ago. And anyway, he specifically asked me what my religious beliefs were, or what faith I came from, and I told him. And I guess he had an interaction with the faith group. I'm a Seventh Day Adventist, and so he was like, "Well, so he got upset of conversation that happened like 20 years ago." And so I listened, and then I said, so he asked me my opinion on whatever he was talking about. And I said, I just like to focus on our similarities. Like Jesus died on the cross for us. Isn't that amazing? We're both justified by faith and we're being sanctified by God. He's working in our hearts. So we're in this journey together. Because I was not going to go there with a patient. And I wanted to focus on the similarities uh, with him. Not, and then he was very kind after, he was kind, period. But what I'm saying is like his energy changed when I came from that perspective, as opposed to, because I think he wanted to see what I would say. And I was like, no, we're gonna focus on what Jesus has done for us because we're both Christians. And that's isn't that great? So, we have that common thread. So we're not gonna focus on the stuff that not that we're gonna pretend it doesn't exist, like what you were just saying, there's a time and a place for that. And that wasn't the time and the place for that. That could be meet on the street, maybe. They ask me and we can have a conversation about it. And I don't have to get defensive about it. I can just come from a place of this is who I am, and this is why I believe what I believe. And that person doesn't have to agree or like that either. It's okay if they don't. It's okay if you don't see eye to eye with me in what I believe. I respect that. But that's one example of, having an interaction with a person and, kind of turning it around and focusing on something that we can both have in common, a common thread. So, um, we have about 10 minutes left, and I wanted to focus on some of the things that um, we can do as Christians or as people, really, um, do what Jesus does. There's that saying, just do what Jesus did. I mean, if we're Christians and we're followers of Jesus, how to be Jesus to someone today.
You know what? Before we do that, I just wanted to share a
Sure.
quick story
Oh yeah, go ahead.
of one that I heard that happened here in DFW.
Okay.
So a mother babysat somebody else's child.
Okay.
The child was sick maybe before, or maybe got more sick during the stay at this woman's house. She was babysitting. It was a young child. And I apologize if anybody knows this story, because I know a lot of Burleson people could be in this area, DFW. Anyway, this child passed away under her care. She was the babysitter. Then people took to the online way. We're talking about her, probably behind her back, to her back, online, everywhere. Turned into an awful mess. She took her life.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So our words are really life or death.
Right. Was that song by Toby Mac? Bring life with the words. Because even in that video, right, he shows like how your words, like if you like talk to somebody, has somebody on the ground. You know how when there's a murder scene, they make an outline of the person's body. Well, in his video, Speak Life, it's called. And there's a part where you see somebody speak life. I'm not a singer. She is though. So I want you to watch us. I'm not gonna sing.
Sorry, I was hearing
But
it.
I love that song though. Anyway, so in the video, I'm trying to give it an illustration of what words can do, right? There's an outline of this person that I guess somebody came over and was like saying really bad, really hard words to them, and they're on the floor like in that position. And then later somebody comes and speaks life, like words of life, and then they get up from that, right? Because our words really do matter. Like
it was just a sad overall story from beginning to
Yeah.
end.
You know-
Do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be able to side with. I mean, who do you side with? I mean,
I don't think there's a side to side with.
right. It's everything was just unfortunate about the story.
Course,
And
absolutely.
I'm sure that, some people have heard this story, but let's go on to hear some things that we can.
Well, yeah, but that saying, remember when we were kids? You don't hear it as much. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me.
It's a no good saying.
No, it's not a good saying, because that's not true.
It's not true.
Yeah, because words can scar you.
Yeah, we can stand up and be like, I'm strong. It doesn't hurt me, but
Yeah, but words can
words
hurt.
do hurt.
Words can hurt. So how can we be Jesus to someone today? To share the common thread. First of all, I think it starts with remembering that everyone is carrying both joy and pain, like we mentioned last week for those that joined us. Every single person that's something we all share, no matter how different our backgrounds are. Now, this one I highlighted in bold, so that means that it's really important, for me at least. Sometimes the most Christ-like thing you can do isn't preaching or to give advice. It's just showing up. Be present, listen, offer a safe space. You don't have to fix or correct, even if you don't agree. Just be there when someone around me or you asks, "Where's God?" That's the question that people ask Christians a lot. Where is God? And I feel like when you can be there for someone, that's one way to say that, here's God. I know the one thing, that was one of the things that my son said to me, that God is with us. And my 9-year-old had to remind me of that. And so we can do that for people too. Embrace differences instead of just tolerating them. Ask questions, share a meal, laugh at something small, because we can all find something funny, right? Or just sit with someone in silence. That's often where the real connection happens. I think we're uncomfortable with silence, and I love to talk. Trust and believe. That's why we're on this podcast, because we spent so much time in the car talking about random topics. But I've had to learn to be okay in the silence. And even in my bedroom or in my car or even just by myself. I think it's okay to have some silence. And don't be afraid to admit your own struggles. Show a little vulnerability. I think there's something authentic about being vulnerable. Not what I'm not saying is don't hang your dirty laundry for everybody to see, because not everybody has your best interest at heart either. However, you should have a few people that you can trust, that you can share whatever situation you're going through. In fact, your honesty might be what helps someone else feel safe enough to open up. Sometimes we're hiding behind this mask for whatever reason. People have been hurt, justifiable. They don't want to maybe share things with people because maybe people have used those things against them, right? Lead with kindness and real curiosity, like we were saying before. Ask, what's your story? And really listen to the answer. Don't rush it. Don't judge it. The one thing that I learned about the phrase, how are you? We use it as a greeting.
Mhm.
But I remember the first time, shortly after, maybe a month or two after my son died, someone asked me how I was. And I said, do you really want to know? I never thought that question and there was nothing wrong with it. But most times we just use it as a greeting. But do we really care when we ask, really? No, really, how are you?
It's a very loaded
It
question.
really is.
And most people don't have time to truly get the answer.
We don't, right? And it's okay if you don't, because obviously you don't know what that might open up, right? Because if you really
But you
ask
can
someone,
say you can say at another time, I'd love to get together to have coffee to hear all about it.
right? You
So that
can,
it's genuine. How are you?
right? So don't be ignoring them or just kind of it was a hi, but just say, I would really love to sit with you and hear all about it. I don't right now I have, XYZ, the kids are crying or screaming or whatever it is, but I would love to make time for you. So how that you're not pushing them off, but obviously, you may not have the time at that moment. In the right moments, share your experiences of God's love, not as a lecture, just as part of your own story. But honestly, the greatest impact comes from how you love, not what you say. But so action speaks louder than words. That's that saying, right? So our actions matter. We have words that we use, right? I love you is an expression we use a lot. But then how do we prove that love to that person, right? And one way to do that is even on social media. I try to post things of positive things on my Facebook page, Instagram, whatnot, just to spread some positivity because we have so much negative stuff coming at us all the time. That's what our podcast is about. We want positive vibes, right? Positive energy. And we're glad that you
And
got
just
to
to
spend some time with us today.
Yeah, and to share Jesus and like you said, your story, your testimony. That's how people see Jesus because you're vulnerable with your story to share your story, and that may cause them to open up to share theirs. Sonia, I wanted to just ask you when we close, you say,
I say, don't give up, hold on to Jesus. And when I say that, my son actually said that to me in the hospital. I was having a really bad day and walked into the room. He didn't know that I was crying before. And he looked at me and said, Mamina, don't give up. Hold on to Jesus.
And so you're going to hear Sonia say that quite a bit.
There's our music. Don't give up. Hold on to Jesus.
Keep looking up.
See you next week.
Wednesday at 6 p.m.
From Burleson to Venus and Grant County, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoyed